As moms, we often wonder, am I doing enough for my kids? I'm here to tell you, you are super mama. That's because we have an undeniable superpower, our intuition, and it never steers us wrong. I call it our mom sense. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta, and I'm the host of That's Total Mom Sense. I'm a journalist, entrepreneur, wife, and mom of 3, twins plus 1. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my podcast, I interview influential moms from various industries and cover topics that all first-time parents grapple with, from getting your baby to sleep to screen time allowance, your new normal in your marriage, and how to dedicate time to yourself. Learn and laugh along with That's Total Mom Sense. As women, our bodies are constantly evolving, from our teenage years and puberty to our prime in our 20s and 30s to our pregnancy bods and postpartum. So it makes sense that our workouts should evolve as our bodies change. We must focus on the areas that need the most attention, especially our core, have the correct form and cadence to each of our workouts, and that, of course, prevents injury and allows us to achieve those results that we are seeking. Brooke Cates is the founder and CEO of the Blue Method, and it's a pre- and postnatal fitness and health expert, as well as a diastasis recti and core rehabilitation specialist. Brooke created the Blue Method with a desire to empower women through movement before, during, and after their pregnancies. Recognizing gaps in both the mainstream and pregnancy fitness world, she created a method that consists of diastasis recti rehabilitation and prevention exercises, labor training, functional exercise movements, and innovative core techniques that are designed to keep women strong and thriving through pregnancy and into motherhood. The Blue Method is the recommended fitness method trusted by doctors, chiropractors, and pelvic floor PTs. In 2018, Brooke took the Blue Method online with Studio Bloom, making it the first ever pre- and postnatal virtual fitness studio. Since then, thousands of women have experienced empowered pregnancies and now experience a deeper connection to their body, movement, and exercise than ever before. Brooke, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so thrilled to be here and chat all things pre- and postnatal movement with you.
So tell us a little bit about your career and when you had that aha moment for Blue Method.
Let's see. I would say mid-20s. Had graduated college and moved to Boulder, Colorado, and was working for families. I had nannied for a few families, was doing kind of some house management, estate management for some families. And all of these families had children and were in various phases of creating families and growing families. And through both working in these homes with families, as well as having friends that were creating their own families, I was more of the observer. And I started to see this terrible trend in women almost losing themselves during pregnancy, struggling to regain or reclaim a sense of themselves postpartum. There were a handful of times where I even heard women say, well, I had to give up this, referring to their body, to have this, and point to the baby or the toddler. And I remember thinking in my mid-20s, oh my goodness, this is so disempowering. This is not the way that I want to step boldly into motherhood, and something has to change. I'm a pretty deep individual. And so I was in this place in my mid-20s where I was thinking, what is my legacy going to be here in this world? Aside from my family and my friends and my spiritual connection and that aspect of my legacy, what am I going to choose to do that I have to call work that could potentially be a part of my legacy? And this feeling around pregnancy and postpartum and strength, witnessing a lot of these moms who were athletes kind of struggle to keep up their athleticism and then get back into movement and exercise postpartum, I just kind of absorbed it, even though it seemed a little weird at the time, because I feel that most women in my line of work didn't get into this line of work until they had experienced pregnancy and postpartum and motherhood. And I did this for 6.5 years before ever getting pregnant. This is just the work that I'm supposed to do. And a passion that is so strong within me that I will do this for the rest of my life. I mean, I speak it, I live it, and often does not feel like work.
Yeah, wow. How has your motherhood journey informed and possibly changed your mindset on what you've built?
Yeah, well, I developed the method through one-on-one clientele. So even though I have a personal training background, I really got into this work for the passion around pre and postnatal fitness and helping women kind of rewrite what to expect during pregnancy, to push away fears that are associated with our body changes during pregnancy, post-pregnancy, and even what to expect around what our bodies are capable of during the birthing process. I worked with hundreds of women one-on-one, different symptoms, different issues, injuries, different fears, different desires, or what they thought the way they wanted to birth looked like. But in working together, they ended up going into birth with a totally different mindset. So as I was guiding them through this, I also was being bombarded with all of these different needs from all of these different women. And that is when, about 2 years into my one-on-one work, I went, okay, this could be more powerful than I originally had thought. And so through my work with these women, I slowly developed this methodology. And the idea behind developing a methodology was that I wanted to be able to create a system that was digestible for all women, whether they were preconception, currently pregnant, or postpartum, kind of like a one prescription from a foundation standpoint. So not a one size fits all, but like a foundational system that anyone could implement and see incredible results with. So pregnancy itself did not change really anything for me. I felt that I was armed with really powerful tools and techniques with my method. So I moved through pregnancy, with a lot of ease. I really did. I didn't have any low back pain. I got body work done every 2 weeks throughout my pregnancy. I saw a chiropractor every couple of weeks throughout my pregnancy. There are different modalities. I don't think the Bloom method is the end all be all. I think it's a component that adds power and ultimately really incredible results to women's pregnancies. But I think it takes a village, right? So I had a 22-hour home birth, and it was the most surreal experience. And then it was really the postpartum that shifted a little bit for me. I was blown away in the first few weeks postpartum at how utterly disconnected to my core and pelvic floor I was.
Absolutely. I mean, the few days that you're at the hospital, sure, the nurses are there to take care of you, but they're also just there to administer your drugs.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about, how are you feeling? It's like, okay, there's the lactation consultant that comes in that helps you just learn this whole new skill of feeding the baby or babies. And I mean, it wasn't about me. It wasn't about the mom. The Bloom method, is that something that was inspired by how women are blossoming and blooming? How'd you come up with the name?
Yes. At first, I was called Blooming Bellies Fitness. It was kind of spawned from the concept of like a blooming flower and a blooming belly, and even us as women blooming from not being a mother and then stepping into this truly remarkable journey of motherhood that is constantly ever flowing and ever changing. And then when things shifted, I went, well, Blooming Bellies Fitness is not gonna work on a larger scale. And so I shifted into the Bloom method because I had created this systematic way of implementing what I was teaching. So it was like a method or a system, and stuck with Bloom and just evolved it a little bit.
That's so cool. Tell us about what your top tips when you are trying to conceive, pregnant, and postpartum.
Yeah, we have an in-house nutritionist, Sarah Jane Sandy, who is a fertility and pre and postnatal nutrition specialist. I also am a huge believer in chiropractic. That and really intentional body work are the two biggest modalities that I recommend for preconception, pregnant, and postpartum women. I also think that acupuncture is really, really great. I just personally do more chiropractic. For example, if you're postpartum and you feel like you are hitting all the marks, you are doing everything you are supposed to be doing as far as you have been educated on to heal and address an injury-based diastasis, and nothing is working, the missing link could be, for example, your obliques are overactive and not allowing the rest of your inner core system to fire correctly to do what it needs to do to address and heal that injury-based diastasis. So a body worker can come in and help you turn those obliques down and then help you with rewiring the messaging system around how your muscles fire when you tell them to fire. And literally, I have guided so many women in that one single tip to help them get the best results ever because they were doing everything they needed to do. And it was the body worker that was the missing link. Our breath can bring our inner core system, which the inner core system is basically the diaphragm, the TVA, which is that corset muscle, and the pelvic floor. So it brings that inner core system back online. Most women, once they reach adulthood, will have some form of dysfunction or disconnect with their inner core system. And a lot of that has to do with the way that we breathe. As we evolve, we slowly get out of this diaphragmatic form of breathing that we actually come into the world with. I will tell moms that you can watch your kiddos breathe, and people like to call it belly breathing, but they're all diaphragmatically breathing. It's the way that we were designed to breathe in an everyday stance. Of course, we can go into our chest and we can get more into the sympathetic nervous system with, rapid chest breathing, but we should be living in a more parasympathetic state. And when we breathe this way, it allows our inner core system to work as the unit it was designed to. And what I mean by that is the pelvic floor and the TVA should lengthen together and co-contract together. And that happens on a very small scale. You're often not feeling the lengthening or the gentle contraction that is happening with your breath, but it does happen. So this is kind of the first step in turning that inner core system back online and creating the foundation necessary for this optimal health that we are looking for in regards to the core and pelvic floor. And then we have other core-based foundational techniques that build upon that. So we build upon the lengthening component of the pelvic floor. We build upon the strengthening component of the core, and then loading the spine for core-based exercises and how to maximize your results in any type of workout, whether you're working out at Studio Bloom or you're at Orange Theory, a bar class, or CrossFit.
Wow, that's so cool. You touched on diet. So what are some key foods that we should be consuming when we are trying to conceive or when pregnant? And what are some foods that we should stay clear away from?
I like to keep it simple. Eat real food and eat as little processed food as you can.
Right.
Drink as much water as possible and rarely drink sugar-based products. Look, if you want a soda, if you're a soda person, have a soda and don't feel bad about it. But maybe you have a couple of sodas a week versus a soda every single day. Try to drink more water. I mean, come on. We are primarily water, so water is our life source. We need more water. But I think increasing leafy greens, increasing all vegetables, eating really clean, organic meats, and enjoying what you eat.
Yes. So would you say that the Bloom method integrates with whatever you prefer to do to exercise? So like you mentioned, Orange Theory, CrossFit, let's say you're a dancer, you like Pilates, yoga.
Absolutely. Big vision for Bloom is that we are a temporary concept or methodology that will literally rewrite the way that people move in functional daily movements and connect while connecting to their body, as well as whatever exercise they choose. You can take our core foundations and the way that we teach you to breathe and co-contract with lengthening of the pelvic floor and contraction of the core with every exercise that we do in our online fitness classes. You can take that same concept and apply it to anything that you do. And that's what we want. We want to empower women on a new level so that they have tools that they can take with them, right? Aside from that, we do have a class concept that is specific to our methodology and the way that we teach. It's our birth prep classes. And these classes actually use contractions and the way that contractions move in and out of your body to train and prepare women both mentally and physically for their birth marathon. So we utilize bouts of exercise. That's the height of the contraction, which is often referred to as the painful aspect of a contraction, and then rest periods, which can be seen as the low of the contraction, or oftentimes if a woman has a contraction and then the contraction dies down, which doesn't always happen, that rest period is the low of the contraction. So we use bouts of exercise to really push women to their edge in a safe way through muscle fatigue and exercise to challenge them physically. And then when they get to their edge, we use motivational and inspirational cues to challenge them mentally to help them understand how to use their mental body to push through and ride the waves of birth.
Wow, that's incredible. One thing that I was curious to find that the Blue Method really does a deep dive on explaining is the difference between abdominal separation and diastasis recti. And if you can just tell us what that is and what kind of, I guess, signs we should look for post-baby to know whether we are suffering from either.
The definition of diastasis recti is the separation of the rectus abdominis muscles, which are your six-pack muscles. Everyone has already, men, women alike, have a separation of those rectus abdominis muscles because we have connective tissue that lies down our midline and the rectus muscles attach into that connective tissue. So the simple placement of the connective tissue between the rectus abdominis muscles means that we have a separation. Our babies, when they come into the world, this separation is more prominent. And as they learn to crawl and roll and eventually walk and run and move as more dynamic beings, this connective tissue strengthens and that separation becomes more narrow because the connective tissue becomes more taut and functional with our movements. Almost all pregnant women get some level of healthy and completely normal abdominal separation, but the connective tissue is designed to stretch and then regenerate and come back to around the same tautness that it was pre-pregnancy. And it's about protecting that connective tissue so that it doesn't weaken to a point that puts us in what we call at Bloom an injury-based component of diastasis. So you could call all of it diastasis, since diastasis means the separation of the recti muscles, but there is a non-injury component that is completely fine, often heals on its own, the connective tissue regenerates, it regains its integrity, and mom goes about her life. And then there's the more injury-based component where, due to functional movements and exercises that were ultimately done incorrectly, the connective tissue was weakened over the course of the pregnancy and then sometimes well into postpartum. When that connective tissue is just damaged or pushed into over and over and over again with the pressure within our abdomen, because that's what damages the connective tissue, is this intra-abdominal pressure that we have. And when we move without regulating that pressure appropriately through core and pelvic floor awareness and correct activation, then we weaken that connective tissue, and that puts us into this more injury-based component. And I like to tell women that just because you have an injury-based component of diastasis doesn't mean that you can't heal and regenerate that connective tissue to bring you back into that healthier state of separation. It just means that there's going to be more work involved. There may be more rehab. You may need to seek a physical therapist, and you may have to do more, integrated programs that would send you down this path of rehab more so than someone who doesn't have the injury component. Commonly, women are tested for diastasis by simply lying supine on their back and lifting their head, neck, and shoulders up, and someone will palpate down their midline. Depending on whether or not that woman has engaged her core and pelvic floor prior to lifting, whether she has lifted head, neck, shoulders, and rib cage up, or whether she's just lifted barely up off of the ground. So the variations of her lift and whether she has not activated or activated her core is going to change what we can call her diagnosis. So we run women through both a non-activated core test, an activated core test, and then what we call a functional core test, where we actually put them in a core-specific exercise, and we have the woman perform this exercise while doing this midline palpation so that she is testing her core in these variations to get an overall understanding of how her core is responding. And what we want to check is the depth and not necessarily the width. The width, or this gap that we're always testing for, could tell us a lot, or it could not tell us really anything. Because believe it or not, because of this connective tissue and because we're all built differently, we have different body types, someone could say, I have a 2-finger separation, but because their connective tissue is almost right at the surface and they can't get their fingers very deep in between that so-called 2-finger separation, they actually don't fall into an injury-based diastasis at all. Whereas someone could have a half of a finger gap, but you could get maybe down to her second knuckle into that gap, and that woman actually has a more severe injury-based diastasis than the woman who is basing everything off of the width of her gap.
So I just want to touch on how each pregnancy that we experience is so different. Personally, I had my twins, and when they were 9 months old, I got pregnant again. And it was, a pleasant surprise for my husband and I, but I was nervous as hell. I mean, it was within 18 months that I was having a third. And I did wonder, I wonder if my body has healed completely.
Absolutely. I mean, they don't allow the body to regenerate. They feel like the next pregnancy, they might not be able to catch up to it from a physical place. Or if we're talking about the connective tissue, that linea alba down your midline or even your pelvic floor, if the individual wasn't able to spend adequate time addressing certain things that their body experienced and the changes that happened during their first or second pregnancy, and then they get pregnant again, they may feel like they lose that even more in the second pregnancy, because the second pregnancy, or the third or fourth pregnancy, but that pregnancy that happens right after the previous one, it may feel like the body didn't get to come back online before it was creating life again, right? Before it was changing again. So for example, the one way that I would say that is if a woman had a weak pelvic floor and then she got pregnant again, she may have to spend even more time during that subsequent pregnancy focusing on creating that strengthening component in the pelvic floor so that she doesn't have an even weaker pelvic floor at the end of this current pregnancy.
Right. Absolutely. So one thing that I just love and applaud you for is the fact that you've built a community through your brand. And it's just really apparent to see that. I was looking at a lot of the before and after pictures that you've posted on your site. I mean, the results are incredible. There's women who are happily showing their baby bumps at 38 weeks, 40 weeks. And then you see the postpartum bod at 2 weeks, 5 weeks, and a few months out. And it's literally an amazing transformation. So, I mean, the women in this community just look so fit and healthy and happy, and there's six packs. I mean, how do they do it? Are there stories that you can share that are like, okay, this is one badass woman and I need to tell you about her story?
I actually don't get super jazzed about a woman being like, I have a 6-pack at 6 weeks postpartum. I mean, I'm there on the sidelines being like, yeah, girl, you go. If you feel good in your body with that 6-week postpartum 6-pack, honor that and enjoy the ride. I really get jazzed about the women who reach out to us and say, because this happens, I used Studio Bloom in my 5th pregnancy, and I had the best pregnancy with 0 discomfort, a really incredible, empowering birth, and I healed quicker postpartum than I ever healed from any of my 4 previous pregnancies. That will bring me to tears. That is me going, yes, because that is what this method is about. But when a woman is proud of her body and proud of what her body can do and feels like and looks like postpartum, we celebrate that too.
That's incredible. I love that. One question that I ask all my guests, and I love to hear their responses, is a mom sense moment you had. The reason why the show is called That's Total Mom Sense is because I feel that we have, as mothers, a sixth sense, a mom sense that never steers us wrong. So when did you rely on this mom sense of yours?
Yeah, I'm going to go with a controversial mom sense. So when I was pregnant with my little boy, Levin, he's 17 months now. When I was pregnant with him, I was scheduled to have a home birth and felt really strongly about my desire to have this home birth. I just really wholeheartedly believe that women should be birthing their babies the way they want to, just like women should be raising their babies the way that they want to. I was told at 28 weeks, I believe, that I tested positive for GBS.
Okay. What is that?
Group B strep.
Okay.
Basically, that means that there is a potential that during birth, my baby could be exposed to this bacteria. And, you know, if you go on Google, which they always tell you to stay away from, they could have an infection. Some will even say there's a small chance they could be blind or deaf. And what is recommended, especially for a home birthing mama, is that she not have a home birth, that she be admitted to the hospital for her birth, and that she receive, I believe, 2 rounds of antibiotics when labor starts to protect her baby. And that just wasn't something that felt good to me. And it felt like, I talk about this a lot, but it felt like something else that was putting me in a fear box that I could not listen to and follow my intuition on. And I'm lucky that I had a birth team that while they advised me, they said, you know, I need to advise you of this, but I want to empower you to do whatever you see fit. And my husband and I thought about this for weeks. Our families were not stoked on the fact that we were still having a home birth. They, of course, wanted us to go to the hospital and have the rounds of antibiotics. My husband and I did lots of research. I talked to a lot of people, and I really listened to my intuition. And my baby came out completely fine. He has never been to the hospital. He was never admitted to the hospital. He's had 2 colds in his 17 months of life. He is a very healthy little boy who is thriving. And I'm not saying that if I would have gone to the hospital and received the 2 rounds of antibiotics, that anything would have been different, but that didn't feel good to me.
That's really, really cool. What a story.
It's now time for Mom Haul, when we share products we love.
The last segment that I like to close out with is a fun one, and it's all about shopping. I feel like we all have this like one product that we are absolutely loving. And so do you have any such product?
I do, but it's our own product, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So,
Tell us.
And I really do love it, or I would not have partnered with our nutritionist to create these products. So it's actually 3 products. I would probably say that I love our collagen the most. It's our complete collagen. And the reason I love it the most is because it blends so beautifully with our education and our methodology at Bloom, and especially in providing extra support for the prevention of diastasis, as well as the healing and the regeneration for any type of, whether it's a healthy separation or injury based. And that's simply because collagen helps to regenerate or maintain integrity of the connective tissue from a cellular level. So our complete collagen, we partnered with our nutritionist, Sarah Jane Sandy, and we have created these 3 products that are just so good. They have been in the making for a while, like a year, and we've just been doing a ton of research in how we wanted to create and partner with the best people to basically formulate our products. And our collagen has 3 patented collagen peptides that have proven efficacy in supporting collagen production for all of the things that we want collagen for, which would be like the bone strength, joint health, skin and hair, that's like skin elasticity and hair health, and then of course that connective tissue repair, the regeneration, and the overall integrity. So that's probably my favorite product, but I then think about our greens protein because it's a protein powder that the reason I love it so much is because my kid loves it. And how many moms out there struggle with getting their younger kids to have a healthy intake of fruits and vegetables? Oftentimes it's more the vegetables than the fruits. The fruits are sweet enough that we can convince them to eat. But our protein has an organic greens blend and a vegetable blend. And my kid is obsessed with it. Girl, when I tell you my kid is obsessed with it, all I do is take our greens protein powder. I will mix it with either almond milk or oat milk, and I put 1 banana in it. So I keep it super simple, and he drinks a whole thing of it and then screams for more. He sucks it down like no other. So at the end of the day, for those moms who are struggling to make sure that their kids are having a good, adequate, balanced diet, it's something, and it's pea protein. So it's a plant-based protein that is going to be really supportive for their kiddos. And whether our mamas are vegan, vegetarian, or meat eaters like myself, it's a plant-based protein that's just really supportive.
That's amazing. Oh, gosh. And where can we find this?
So on our website, we are actually about to, at the recording of our podcast, we are about to launch our pre-sale for these products. So we haven't officially launched these products, which is another reason I'm so excited about them, is because they're our new thing. But they will be for pre-order at the end of this week. And then they'll just be on the website for anyone to order them and try them out and hopefully love them as much as we do.
Right. That's incredible. Tell our listeners where they can find you, how they can follow you, how they can become a member of the Bloom Method community.
They can find us on Instagram at The Bloom Method, and it's The Bloom Method. I've noticed that we have some followers on Bloom Method, and they're sending us messages, and we don't post there. We don't do anything. We've just kind of reserved that Instagram. So it's The Bloom Method on Instagram. It is a platform where we are constantly giving an abundance of free education, because educating women and empowering women is at the core of my being. So if Bloom isn't right for you and you don't want to be a Studio Bloom member and subscribe to our online platform, then don't. But use us as a resource, because I still love empowering you and I still want to educate you. You can also go to our website, of course. It's just thebloom.com. And then from our website, you can become a Studio Bloom member. So you can subscribe to our on-demand online platform via our website, or you can download our app via iOS, Android, Google Play, and access us that way too.
That's great. And the app is also called The Bloom Method?
It is. It is called the Bloom. It's called Studio Bloom, but if you search the Bloom method, it'll come up as well.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke. This was such an enlightening episode. Thank you for, encouraging us mothers to embrace our bodies, and knowledge is power. You've given us so much of that, on carrying us through every single trimester, the fourth trimester, and all the years following that on how to live happy, healthy lives. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you to you and every other woman that allows me and my team to do this work.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you got some great takeaways from my chat with Brooke. I've partnered with the Bloom Method, so if you go to the App Store on iOS or Google Play, download Studio Bloom and enter promo code MOMSENSE20 in all caps, to receive 20% off your order. Tune in to other episodes and browse my YouTube videos and blog posts on my website. That's totalmomsense.com. And of course, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com and follow me on Insta at KanikaXOXO. I am so excited to have you part of my tribe. And remember, always trust your mom sense. Stay strong, supermamas. Bye.
That's total mom sense.